Damn, I wasn't late, I was on time. It was Wednesday, another long day at work was over, so I went home. My name is Tom, my wife is June. There's nothing special about us. She's a dirty water blonde and has about 10 stubborn extra pounds that she says she can't lose. But I know it's because she likes snacks, Cheetos and corn chips, that's all. I don't eat that kind of nonsense, so the bags of them in the cupboard are hers. No matter, we usually do well and she really keeps the house clean. Her cooking could have been better, but I knew what I was getting into when I ate at her parents' house a couple of times. I knew she would have extra pounds after all. I had met her mother. This is not a problem for me. I have always believed that slightly overweight women are more fun. I also figured out how she manages to make mashed potatoes so gooey, it comes out of a box. The same brand her mother buys. Why does anyone buy potatoes in a box? It's a mystery to me what they cost. Maybe 50 cents a pound? Twice the price in the box, maybe more. But June does that. I was working on a forklift at the time, a union job, so the pay was $19.36 an hour. Not bad for that kind of work. Good benefits too. June? She was cleaning the house and eating chips, and as far as I could tell, that was all. I would often ask her how her day was when I came home, but when I did, she would start talking about what happened on the daytime soaps. It's driving me a little crazy, but good husbands need to show interest. So I almost always ask. Plus, hugs and kisses and a pat on the butt are important too. Oh yeah, she loves buying shoes. I swear she brought a new pair every month. It made her happy, so I didn't complain. Perhaps because of her mother? Yes, a different pair of shoes for every day. With spare ones, just in case. I once asked her why she bought two identical pairs, both of which had 4-inch heels. They were on sale, so I thought, what if I break the heel on one pair? Yes, it's a sale. $79.95. Nothing that ends in 0.95 is ever actually on sale. I didn't say anything, we already discussed this. I wear one pair of shoes for a year, so I don't really understand this. Even tight ones. Go outside, walk through puddles, then wear them wet for a couple of hours, and they will fit perfectly. When June and I first got married, we experimented a little with sexy things. A bit of flash mobbing on the beach. Nothing special, as most of the other women were topless, too. June had really nice breasts. Of course, she knew that. I loved showing it off. It was fun and one of my little quirks. No one ever pays real attention in these situations. Let's face it, nudity gets boring when everyone is naked. Still, it was funny like I said, one of my stupid quirks. I had her open the curtain in the fitting room of our local clothing store while she was trying on a skirt, and the old man was sitting there seemingly bored because his fat wife was in the other booth. The old man looked like he swallowed his fake teeth when he saw June trying on bras. It was funny. He also wasn't bored anymore after that, bending over so much that I was ready to try to catch him when he fell off the bench. Then, when his fat wife came out, the old man whispered something to her. She looked at me and blushed. Damn it. She didn't close the curtains a few inches, allowing me to look at her two huge water balloons hanging before she pulled the curtains open. The old man kept glancing at me to see my reaction, so I tried to act like it was really cool. Then, just a couple of minutes later, the fat woman pulled the curtains back again. "How do they look at me, Herman?" she asked, pretending that she did not see me sitting almost in front of her. This went on for about half an hour. First June putting on a little show, then the older woman. It was funny I told June what happened on the way home because I kept giggling about it. She knew something was going on, but she couldn't see it from her dressing room. Well, everyone wants to have fun sometimes, even old people. Who knows? Maybe we helped them somehow. June often wore low-cut tops without a bra when we went out to dinner, knowing I liked it. There were a lot of mildly sexual incidents. Other than that, I think we were just a normal married couple. We even tried open marriage once, almost by accident. I certainly didn't plan for this, and I know June didn't either. At least that's what I thought at the time. There was this couple, Dave and Marie, that we knew. Marie was a real charm, believe me. Dave was a few inches shorter than me and had a slight belly. He also wore glasses, which made him look a bit like a nerd. Yes, and a bald spot on the back of my head. How they met, I wasn't sure. Well, maybe I knew they had a brand new Cadillac in the driveway, and our house could be a contribution to theirs. They had one of those huge TVs. This was before flat screens. 48 inches, damn it. Ours was 17 inches, but in reality it was only 16 and a half, I know, because I measured it. We had been to a few of their parties before. Marie always looked very sexy, and June always tried to dress the same when we were going to be in their company. So, at the last party at their house, we all got pretty drunk. And after everyone else had left, Dave and Marie asked if we wanted to stay and play cards. At first, for pennies, then somehow, and I'm still not entirely sure how it happened, we started playing on the strip. I lost, first, of course, and was embarrassed to take off my panties, but Marie was sitting there with her gorgeous breasts out, and she didn't care about my view, so I took a deep breath and took them off. June smiled, enjoying my awkwardness. By then, she was only in her underwear. That in itself was unusual. June was wearing a bra, which partly explains why I later wondered if she knew what was coming. "Wow," Marie said, then stretched a little, giggled when I sat back down. Dave was the next to lose. He took off his boxers, and I saw that he might have a little more than half of what I had. It didn't take long before June lost her bra. I expected her to be embarrassed about it since Dave had never seen them completely naked, but she wasn't, not one bit. The next hand was decisive. June had a pair of 4s and Marie had 3 aces. So Marie won, but then we ended up on the couch. I think Marie suggested this. Not sure about that part. She continued to look at me. Then she said something to Dave. He looked at me and smiled. I smiled back. Marie looked at me, smiling. I looked at June. Her face was bright pink. It turns out they had done this before. For June and me, it was the first time. Then, on the way home around 4 a.m., after a whole pot of coffee, June was unhappy. "Marie has better breasts than me," she sobbed. Well, that was true. But even when I was drunk, I was smart enough to disagree with her. There was almost a week of June frowning. I knew what was wrong, but what the hell could I do about it? I patted her butt, complimented her, laid her on her stomach on the bed the next evening. Nothing helped bring her mood back. I tried to discuss this error. "I definitely got the least," she complained, as if we were supposed to be equals or something. But finally everything was back to normal, except that she didn't want to go to Dave and Marie anymore. I mentioned this once when she refused to go to one of the parties. She told me that we needed to stay true to each other, and that this should never happen again. That was fine with me because June was really good in bed, so I agreed and mostly forgot about it. Then that day came. I came home at the usual time, as always. Even on days when my boss let me go early, I would stop and watch the dancers at the local bar. I always drank soft drinks and kept track of time, like I said. I'm a good husband, and I come home on time. No June in the living room, no June in the kitchen. I found her in the bedroom, and she was not alone. They were both asleep. Well, what was happening was absolutely clear. They hugged each other. The covers were pulled up. The guy's head was lying on what should have been my pillow. From what I've read, most men find out by coming home early and catching them, or maybe someone broke down and told their husband. Hire a private detective, install hidden cameras, track phones. To catch a bitch in the act, you need to do it smartly. Then he goes and does something to ruin his wife's life, to confuse the poor guy who was just getting his share. I never understood the desire to confuse the poor guy. Because think about it. The woman is to blame. Everything goes on autopilot. Men cannot control themselves. It's not their fault. However, catching them means something else is going to happen, you know. Coming home early. Surprise! It's on the corny side, but it's probably more common. And in my opinion, then, women are the ones who have to control themselves. Yes, I know. Chauvinistic nonsense, but back then I was no different than any other guy at that stage of my life. It was later before I realized that women enjoy outside sex and will do it if they feel safe and won't get caught. Like when you're leaving town and there's no chance of catching her. Then when you get home and the dinner is great and the wife is being very savory and she serves you rabbit in a sauce that is incredible. Yes, she probably loves you. She just likes sex on the side sometimes. Wives who cannot be seduced under any circumstances do not exist, and they like it no less than men. Most of the time, they don't get caught at all. So catching them almost always means something has gone wrong. Hell, coming home when you're supposed to and finding your significant other in bed with someone else is rare, I think. Nothing trivial. This happened when the boss released me at 16 quar instead of 17. New deliveries were not expected until the morning, so why not? Now, dirtying my bed, my bedroom, with my wife while I'm toiling away at work, driving a damn forklift that I hate, is a whole different ballgame. Okay? I walked up to the bed, leaned over, and looked closely at the guy. He was snoring loudly, and I had no idea who the hell he was. The dude was seriously snoring, and I mean loud. I snore myself, at least according to June, because sometimes she wakes me up and makes me roll over. The guy must have given her a good round if she could sleep through it. Opening the top drawer of my dresser, I took out my large .45 caliber revolver, pulled the hammer back and sent 200 grains of lead crashing into the floor at the foot of the bed. It was quite loud to fire a gun like that indoors. Okay, I was a little angry. Yes, this woke them up. June woke up first and looked at the door. At first she didn't see me because I was standing at the foot of the bed. What the? Jack, wake up. Tom will be home soon. Then she saw me. Her mouth formed a small O, but no sound came out. The idiot sniffled and opened his eyes and saw me. He looked confused for a second or two, and then his eyes got wider when he saw what I had in my hands. So, who the hell are you and what are you doing in my bed? I asked him calmly, too calmly. He just looked at me, his mouth working. Better get up. I don't want our new sheets all covered in blood. I told him with a smile as I pulled the trigger back with a loud click. I knew these sheets were brand new. June had only brought them home the day before. This made me angry too. I love new sheets. Tom, darling, please. June was close to tears and grabbed the blankets, sitting up with her knees drawn up. She covered her breasts as if she didn't want me to see them. I definitely remember you telling me a couple of months ago that something like this would never happen again. I told June as the guy I now knew as Jack tried to hide behind the pillow. Yeah, that sounds like it'll work. I saw his eyes go to the door, so I walked over there and slammed it shut. He still didn't say a word. His eyes became wider than I had ever seen on a human. Tom, it's not what it seems, June screamed. Now this is already banal. Oh, okay. Just doing yoga, I guess? I asked mockingly. No one answered. Okay, listen, Jack. You have 10 seconds to grab your pants and walk out the front door, then I'll shoot you right in the groin. I told him. He didn't move, honestly. 3, 4. I started, and Jack instantly jumped up, running out the front door with his pants, shoes, and shirt. Naked as a falcon. Then I actually started laughing, like it was funny or something. Damn, suddenly I became hysterical. This happens to other guys, but not to me. Pulling myself together, I went into the living room, sat down and turned on the news. I had to wipe my eyes. How a person can cry and laugh at the same time is a mystery to me. I placed the gun on the coffee table next to me, after carefully pulling the trigger and rotating the cylinder towards the now empty cartridge. Don't let any accidents happen. I'm careful with firearms. My pistol does not have a trigger safety device. If it is dropped, it may go off. I was watching the news, the usual bullshit about someone finding a body in the river. Some idiot robbed a toy store. The hit-and-run driver is being sought. The mayor wants to spend several $100 million on light rail. Almost half an hour passed before June came out. She stood there and looked at me. I didn't mean to shoot her or anyone. I like to be free and go where I want, but Jack didn't know that, and June wasn't quite sure. She looked scared. What's for dinner? I asked her. I can... She quickly headed to the kitchen. I wish there weren't those damn sticky mashed potatoes, I called after her. After 20 minutes, she put out a large bowl with spaghetti and meatballs in it. This time, she didn't even try to dilute the sauce with ketchup. Yukon Gold potatoes, halved and coated in flour, salt and pepper, then fried in butter. I bought them myself a couple of days ago as a hint, and even told her how much I liked them. Just a hint. It doesn't usually work. I even told her to wash them, but not to peel them. I love those damn peels. Quite good, actually. I ate in silence, not saying a word, while June poked at hers with her fork. Later, she came into the living room and sat on the sofa with her hands on her lap. "I've never seen you like this." She finally spoke. Not what I expected to hear. I expected crying, apologies, some nonsense. "Which one?" I asked. "So, cold? You scare me." "Yeah? Well, I've never seen you in our bed with a stranger." I told her. "Tom, It just happened. I'm sorry." She sobbed a little. "How can you find yourself having sex with a stranger, and it just happens?" I asked. "Jack doesn't... he works at a shoe store. I came in to buy some new ones and..." She looked down. "How did buying new shoes bring Jack into my damn bed?" I demanded. "He invited me to lunch and he was always nice, so I went." "It was just lunch," she said. "So you had lunch and then you brought him home to have sex, right?" "Tom, I'm so sorry. This will never happen again. It was just one time." "I see. Do you think you'd like it if I stopped on the way home? Maybe had sex with Marie again?" I told her. June's eyes flashed, but she quickly pulled herself together. Apparently, I hit a nerve. From there, the conversation went downhill into an argument. June accused me of cheating, which I didn't do, but they say a good offense is the best defense. So now June was mad at me. I caught her in bed with some idiot, and she was mad at me. So help me God, women. I slept in the spare room, on clean new sheets. There's no way I'm going into that bedroom with June. The next day, I still hadn't decided what to do. I could go crazy, leave her ass, take the $863.49 we had in the account, and hit the road, leaving her with the house payments. Except we had no payments on the house. I inherited it from my grandfather, and it was in my name only. My grandfather used it as a rental property, so you can imagine what condition it was in when I moved there. There were about 200 damn nails driven into the walls. There were curtains, but someone had a cat, so they had to be replaced. The carpets were worn out. I slowly worked on the repairs. So the house was mine anyway. We had no car payments. My 1978 Toyota pickup wasn't worth much. And June's old Chevy was pretty beat up, but paid off. We weren't particularly rich. Like I said, $19.36 an hour to drive a forklift. I considered all my options. None of them seemed good. I even thought about dragging her out onto the lawn and dousing her with cold water. I chuckled to myself at the thought. Finding out that your loving wife is cheating on you behind your back can make a man go a little crazy, I guess. I couldn't help myself. I pulled into the shoe store parking lot, walked in, and asked about Jack. I really had no idea what I was going to say or do to him. I was told that he quit. I asked if they knew where he had gone. They had no idea. This meant he probably wasn't a problem anymore. I think I scared him a bit. I chuckled to myself about this. When I returned home, dinner was already ready. Mashed potatoes and gravy, nice steak, and corn. The potatoes were good, really good. What the hell now? Real butter, not the kind that comes in a tube that turns into water in a frying pan. I bought those Yukon Gold potatoes you like, followed the recipe for fluffy mashed potatoes, and made gravy from steak fat, she said proudly. I almost said that she must be trying to make amends for cheating on me, but I like good food, so I said nothing. I've also decided, honey, you can go and be with that Marie woman if you want. That should make us even, she said. Not a bad idea, I told her, seeing another surge of anger in her expression. I didn't even know if it would work. However, I could see how my easy agreement really hurt June, and I was still angry with her. Good dinner. I'll go to the living room while you wash the dishes. Come see me after, okay? I told her. I'd never said that to her before. I was just teasing her a little. Okay, she said and began to collect the dishes. Would you rather make love to me? June asked me when she came in. I noticed that her blouse was unbuttoned, and very much so. She knew me well enough to understand where my interests lay. I was able to hold on. No, I'm kind of tired, I said, reaching for the TV remote control. It was the last half of the show with Judge Judy. So 2 weeks passed, and I punished her for her infidelity. Now I'm not even sure why. Lord knows I've had my share of adventures in life, and June wasn't a virgin when we met. Not even once. So a little on the side was not a big problem for me. Well, if I was there and also had fun. Sneaking up with someone on the side without plans to find out upset me. It was kind of taboo. I wouldn't do that to her. At least that's what I thought. After all, I was a good husband. Then the night shift guy showed up a few days late. I had to stay about 90 minutes before he showed up. It was really rare. He probably had a problem with the wheel or something like that. June was mad at me when I got home. She accused me of stopping at Marie's on the way. I explained, but realized that she didn't believe me. By bedtime, we weren't talking. I even cooked my own dinner, a ham steak, hash browns, and gravy, and some eggs. I don't know why, but I followed her into our bedroom and sat on the edge of the bed. I wanted to talk to her. I didn't even go there for a couple of weeks. She was annoyed at first, but I reached over and fondled her breasts. Hell, it had been 3-4 days without sex. June could handle it. Usually by the end of the week, she was ready to eat me. Now that was the good part of the month. Next thing I knew, we were having sex. I was groping her all over and fondling her, when it dawned on me that those 10 stubborn pounds were gone. Almost a month has passed. I don't know if it was because of worries or she really took it up, but her body has become much slimmer. Okay, she was forgiven. I think I can live with that. The truth is that I wasn't even thinking about Jack and her by then. Time heals wounds, as they say. I love you so much, darling. June hugged me and cried. I love you too, baby, I told her. That should have been the end of the story, but marriages survive just as often as they don't. Honey, an offer for a free membership came in the mail today, June told me about a month later when I walked through the door. Everything was on time. I didn't even stop at the tavern to watch the dancing girls, not once. Membership? I asked, looking around for the TV remote that was supposed to be on the armrest of my chair. Yes, this is a promotion for that new spa that opened in the city center. I had no idea what she was talking about as I ran my hands around the seat of my comfy chair, searching for the damn remote control. Our cat loves to play with this thing. One day I found it in our bathroom trash can. A couple 100 feet of toilet paper unrolled on the floor told me where to look. Which spa? I asked, finally finding the damn remote on her chair. I probably watched soap operas. They have a sauna and a gym, a pool, a jacuzzi. They have yoga classes, a spa, she said, waving a brochure at me. Oh, I turned on the TV, just in time to hear Judge Judy yelling at some stupid-looking guy about how smart she is. Then the old lady turned to some woman and yelled at her for letting this stupid guy drive her car, knowing he didn't have a license. Right after I told this woman how smart she was too. So, can I come in? June asked me. I think so. How much does it cost? I asked. The first 3 months are free, June told me. Oh, I think we can afford it? I sat down. I didn't even think about it. Maybe I should have. There was no mention of the cost of the 4th month. It could have been just a couple of days later. I walked in, and June was sitting there, rummaging through a box. Damn, more shoes. This was the first thought that came to my mind. Instead, she pulled out something that, for a second, I thought was rope or something. What the hell is this? I asked. My new suit, June told me with a smile. She laid it out. It was some kind of elastic material, and there wasn't very much of it. It looked like the kind of material dark tights are made from. Costume? I asked. Yeah, for training. I'll go try it on. I shook my head and turned on the TV, just in time to hear Judge Judy telling some black guy how smart she was. A couple of minutes later, June came out. I looked up and almost fell out of my chair. My God, I exclaimed. Do you like it? She made a small turn. It was some kind of bodysuit. It was tan-colored. Sleeveless, no pants, just her body, and it stretched so that, except for the material, it was all June. This thing is fucking indecent, I told her. Oh, it's not so bad, she said. Are your breasts sticking straight out? Perhaps I should wear a sports bra. Great. Cover your boobs, but leave everything else visible? I thought about it, but said nothing. This is what all the girls in my class wear, she added. Which class? Which I signed up for at the spa. Then I remembered. Spa. Right. Have you signed up for this spa? I asked. Yes, dear. I told you about it. You said it was normal. I didn't remember saying it was normal. I bought new shoes for him, she said, lifting one foot. Shoes. Certainly. They were soft and had some kind of non-slip sole. So you're going to go out in public looking like this? I asked. No, of course not. Only at the spa they told us to buy these workout suits because they're tight, so they can track our progress. They sell them there, she smiled at me. Certainly. Of course they sell them there, too. How much does it cost, and how much do these classes cost? The suit only cost $195, and the classes are free for the first 3 months. I just looked at her. This part I could understand. The shoes were only $69.95, she added. I sighed. What's for dinner? I asked. They say there is a rule that should be followed in any marriage. Pay attention. I didn't pay. My mistake. With concerns about layoffs at the plant and me only having seniority left over 2 guys, it was on the way. Then the electric company installed new remote meters, telling us about all the savings it would bring. Of course, the bill went up 20% to pay them, which the electric company meant was saving them money. The government was talking about some kind of housing crisis. A black guy was running for president. I'm not biased, but I voted for the white guy, and he lost, and somehow all the blacks ended up voting for the black guy. Certainly. Our home values dropped and government revenues dropped, so our property taxes went up to compensate. The 5% we were getting in interest became 0.2%. Times were pretty tough. Not a big problem. I managed to accumulate $997 in my account, despite everything else. My boss then explained that he could keep us employed if we all agreed to take a pay cut, so $19.36 an hour became $15.40. I saved every penny and explained it all to June. This all happened quite quickly, over a period of less than a couple of years. 2 long years without attention. It was going to work, coming home, eating, worrying, getting up and going to work again. Yes, sex has become less frequent. This happens in such situations. My wife, June, however, looked fantastic. She went to the damn spa once or twice a week, but there were benefits to it. Hell, she was down to barely 115 pounds, and her breasts didn't even look saggy. You'd think a curvy girl's breasts would sag if she lost weight, but she doesn't. Hell, now she looked as good as the dancing girls in the tavern I never stopped at on my way home. Fine. I really liked this part about her. The incident, this story with a guy named Jack, had long since slipped my mind. Often, twice a week, she would go to this spa and work out. It was a women's class, so I didn't mind. The bill was only $60 a month, which I paid for because June had cut back on her shoe purchases. However, for a while, I was pulling money out of the bank instead of adding. Then there was a change at work. They needed a foreman for the day shift, and by then I was next in line. I got this job, a real office, and even a nice salary increase. I took the day off and wanted to rush home and tell June the good news. No more damn forklift. I was almost at the turnoff to our house when it dawned on me that today was Thursday and June would be at her spa class. I made an illegal U-turn at the intersection and drove there. I wanted to surprise her. I had plans. I was going to take her to that new steakhouse for dinner. Maybe she'll dress up, wear one of her gorgeous low-cut dresses. It's been a while since we've done that. I came in and asked about June. At the reception, they told me that she was at her dance class and pointed to the double doors. Music was coming from there. In the main room, there were exercise machines. There were a couple of pumped-up guys there. I didn't see anyone else. I walked through the doors and stopped. There were about a dozen women there, all wearing similar outfits to June's. Crap. I thought that I should have looked here much earlier. Butts were bouncing provocatively, breasts were swaying. Wow. Then I saw June. She was in the front row. All the women were dancing in unison. Some guy was in front, leading them through the exercises. Blonde hair, maybe about 30 years old, slim and muscular. There was a short stand, so I went and sat in the top row to watch. Everyone's back was to me except this guy. He didn't know me, so he ignored me. The music stopped and the women gathered around him. I saw women behave the way I observed. They were all trying to get attention, including June. The guy acted as if he liked it and showed off. Then the women began to leave. June remained there, talking to him. She never turned to see me, but then I hadn't been there before, so she didn't expect to see me. I know when the conversation is friendly. As she turned to leave, the guy extended his hand and lightly patted her almost bare ass. June smiled back at him and headed towards what I assumed were the showers. I was sitting there planning to talk to my wife a little about this. The guy was acting a little too familiar with her. Some women came out, and finally I realized that June must be the last one left there. The guy came over and told me they were closing soon, so I needed to leave. Still no June? I stood up and headed towards the doors. He turned to leave, so I ran into the closet where the mops and linens were. I noticed it was open. If June came out, she would have to walk past me, but she didn't, and the guy too. I waited for about 15 minutes, then the lights in the main hall went out. Still no June. I went out, went to the shower door, and entered. June stood there with her back to me, wearing only thin panties. The guy stood there hugging her. "Hey, buddy, you can't be here," he told me. June turned around and saw me. "Oh, shit," she said. "Hey, buddy." The guy started again. "I'm not your buddy, and you have your hands on my wife," I told him. He released June, and she turned and reached for her clothes. Cover up by being my wife again? That's what she did when I caught her with that guy, Jack. "I just came by to tell you that I got a promotion and got a job as a foreman," I said. Darling, this is not it." She began to get dressed. "I'm going home. You're not going. In fact, I'm coming back. If this guy is still here, I'll shoot him." I turned and left. I thought about going over and giving the guy a hard time, but to be honest, he looked really athletic. There's no point in being stupid. I didn't go home. I stopped at a bar with dancers. Yes, I drank well. I was on my third or fourth cocktail hour looking at the girls without really seeing them, when someone said something right behind me. "Hi, Tommy. How are you?" I turned around and saw Marie standing there holding a tray. "What are you doing here?" I asked. "I work here. Dave and I broke up." "Oh, sorry to hear," I told her. "No, I'm not upset." She tilted her head and laughed. Marie finished work at 2 a.m. I must have still been there because I woke up in bed with her. I didn't remember at all how it happened or what we did. I remember what we did the next day, although it was already during the day. Let's just say we spent the morning trying not to die. Marie's body was as good as I remembered from that one time years ago. She seemed much louder. We must have had sex at least 5 times. She was free that evening, so we stayed there and did it over and over again. "You're fucking beautiful, Tommy," she muttered at some point. I could say here that my cell phone was ringing constantly. That's trivial from what I'm reading. The wife panics when she is caught, does everything possible to come up with excuses, apologize, lie. My mobile phone never rang. I didn't have one. I used Marie's phone to call work and explained honestly that I had gone out to celebrate and got drunk. My boss just laughed and said to come on time on Monday. I returned to Marie. On Monday morning, I went to work, now in my new office. There was a lot to do. I didn't think about June at all. Some may not believe it, but I didn't think so. Not until she called before lunch. "What do you want?" The first words I said. "Honey, we need to sit down and talk," she said. "About what? About what kind of sex with your new lover, maybe?" "Honey, listen. It was just sex. It's not a big deal. We both did it, so let's just talk and go back to our old lives." "How the hell can we do this? You cheated and God knows how many times, and with whom?" She paused, which told me all I needed to know. "Honey, it's just sex. It doesn't mean anything," she finally said. "June, I'm fed up with your cheating. When I come home tonight, I advise you not to be there." What are you gonna do? Shoot me? She snorted. As usual, she went on the offensive. Not a bad idea, I shouted into the phone. I hid your gun. You won't threaten me with that again, she said. Oh? You don't know about the one I have here in the office, do you? I didn't have one, but she didn't know that. There was silence on the other end of the line for several long seconds. I'm not going anywhere, she said stubbornly and hung up. She seemed to mean it. Her car was parked in the driveway when I pulled up. She was sitting on the sofa when I entered. Get out of here. This is my home, I told her. No, this is our house, and I'm not leaving. I was about to walk towards her to throw her right into the front yard when I saw movement from the corner of my eye. Yes, the guy from the spa. What the hell is this guy doing here? I demanded. Given the way you've been acting, I asked Jimmy to come over to protect me, she said with a grin. Are you cheating on me and acting like I'm doing something wrong? Well, I am. I won't leave. This is also my home. She stubbornly raised her chin. Hey, I think you need to leave, buddy, Jimmy said, taking a step toward me. I thought about punching him in the face, but like I said, this guy looked very athletic, and I'm not exactly stupid. Well, at least in most cases. But I knew my wife June's way of thinking. I turned around and rushed into our bedroom and took out her underwear drawer. It was just a guess, which turned out to be correct. She would never have thought to look there. She was sure of that. Behind her panties was my gun. Jimmy was already at the bedroom door when I turned and fired once at the floor, aiming low between his legs. Warning shot. Oops. The 200-grain bullet hit him right in the foot. Looks like I needed to practice. My kick hit him in the nose and he was no longer a threat. Yes, he was on the ground, so it wasn't fair. So what? June was already heading towards the door when I stepped over Jimmy. I watched as she jumped into her car in a panic and sped down the street. I didn't think her old Chevy could spin its wheels like that. The police arrived quite quickly after calling 911. They asked me to put my gun down when they entered. I did as they asked. It was clear there was a stranger here, in my house, at my bedroom door. The bullet clearly hit the floor at an angle, which meant I was trapped inside. The guy really looked athletic and menacing. This helped when, during a search, they found a small .32 caliber automatic pistol in his belt. I didn't even see it. I probably would have screwed myself if I had known about this. So, Jimmy was taken. Of course, he was released on bail after half a day. There was one funny part. I told the story to the detective, mentioning what I saw at the spa. Is this the one on the 3rd? He asked. Yes, I nodded, his face darkening. My wife goes there, he said, almost to himself. Then he showed me a photograph of a beautiful woman. He asked me if I had seen her in that class. Yes, I'm sure of it, I lied. Poor Jimmy. I was even able to keep a straight face until the police left. After this, it didn't take long before Jimmy confessed to the scam, and this was confirmed in court. There was more, I'm sure, but I never found out about all of it. Now there is a woman teaching classes at the spa. Jimmy's leg was in terrible condition. He was wearing sneakers that day, and the bullet entered right in the middle of his laces and came out at the bottom. But many women from these classes quit their jobs. June wanted half the house. Of course she did. But there was a tentative divorce agreement. As I mentioned a couple of times, sometimes I'm not that stupid. It was about 2 years later that my boss called me into the office and offered me a job as a factory manager. He told me it was one step from there to corporate governance because our CEO was already 76 years old and the board wanted someone who could deliver results. My business management degree was helpful. I went home earlier that day to tell my wife about it. My plan was to take her to dinner, see if she would want to dress provocatively for me. I even bought the dress I wanted to see her in. I ordered it specially. She can wear it without a bra. Well, she kinda has to since there's no place to hide it without it showing. I like it when she does that. Everyone can look but not touch. She was at home when I arrived. Of course, she is always at home, and I am always on time. I'm sure Marie will wear this dress. She loves going out. She even likes to flirt, which is great, because being with her when she does it is one of my weaknesses. She can show quite a lot of breasts now since she is 7 months pregnant. I didn't even have to teach her how to make mashed potatoes. She already knew how. There is also no ketchup in the spaghetti sauce. June? She had a bank account, about $1,200 by then. We never heard a peep from her again. Subscribe to our channel so that your second chaff doesn't cheat on you, and go ahead and listen to the next story, because this story is nothing compared to the next one. If you're under 18, don't even think about listening to the next one.